Boss encounters in video games have often been a source of frustration for players, with the difficulty level in RPGs being particularly high. Due to the various mechanics and strategies involved, RPG bosses can present as many challenges as the player themselves. Additionally, bosses in RPGs can take on many forms, from final bosses to optional side quests. Many RPGs are defined by their bosses, and players will often remember these challenging encounters long after finishing the game.
Final summoning.
Yunalesca, Final Fantasy X.
No.
Defeating Yunalesca in the boss fight is quite a formidable task. She possesses the ability to inflict death and zombie status effects on the entire party, which are regarded as some of the most unfavorable conditions in the history of Final Fantasy games. What makes this encounter even more challenging is the lengthy cutscene that precedes it. Unfortunately, skipping the scene is not an option. Consequently, players feel an additional level of tension as they dread the cinematic just as much as they do the actual battle. Gygas, Earthbound. As with most boss battles in video games, Gygas has several forms. During the first phase, he is impervious to attacks. However, his henchman, Pokey, is susceptible to defeat. Pokey poses a threat as he can inflict significant damage and debuffs in the first two forms. Once you vanquish Pokey, the only obstacle that remains is Gygas himself. Defeating Gygas' final form can be a daunting task without a guide. This phase can be extremely difficult, with your party members taking substantial damage and only able to focus on healing. However, there is a strategy to defeat Gygas in this phase. Party member Paula should repeatedly use her healing abilities. If she uses this skill 9 times, Gygas will finally succumb to your efforts. Demi-Fiend, Digital Devil Saga Avatar Tuner. The developer Atlus is known for creating challenging boss fights that can drive players to the brink of frustration. Among these formidable opponents, Demi-Fiend stands out as one of the toughest in the JRPG genre. The key to defeating Demi-Fiend lies in executing precise strategies that manipulate his AI. However, even with a well-planned approach, this boss can still unleash unexpected and lethal attacks. In reality, Demi-Fiend forces you into a pattern just as much as you try to manipulate his. If you deviate from his pattern, such as equipping certain passive abilities or taking too long to finish the fight, he will promptly end your party's quest. The boss possesses various skills to heal himself and deal significant damage to your team, making you wonder why he bothers engaging in a battle with you at all. Galdera, Octopath Traveler. Considering that defeating Galdera is essential to concluding the story of Octopath Traveler, it's difficult to classify it as an optional battle. However, taking on this formidable opponent requires a different level of preparedness, with party members ideally reaching level 99 before attempting to face this boss. Galdera unleashes devastating attacks in both phases of the battle, making it critical for all 8 party members to perform their duties flawlessly. Needless to say, this boss fight is incredibly challenging, and players need to time their attacks and healing moves precisely to have any hope of succeeding.
Time to close up shop!
Elizabeth, Persona 3 FES. Elizabeth is the next challenging boss that players encounter after Demi-Fiend in the world of Atlus. Although she appears as a mild-mannered elevator attendant, defeating her is almost impossible without dedicating a significant amount of time and effort. Players may have to spend 2 playthroughs just to prepare themselves for this fight. Even with thorough preparation, players risk being killed instantly if they use the wrong move during the battle. Elizabeth can be likened to an evil ex-spouse in the game, as she is incredibly possessive and intolerant of any party member besides the hero. If players try to deflect her attacks, she will react violently, dealing 9,999 damage, which is 9,000 points over the maximum health of a character. This boss is a minefield of unwritten rules that players must abide by to avoid catastrophic consequences. Shadow Queen, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. Despite its cute and charming paper-inspired aesthetic, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door is not a game for the faint of heart. While it employs turn-based battles, the mechanics are more sophisticated than they appear. The key to success in battles is timing the moves correctly, both for attacking and defending. The Shadow Queen boss fight is a long battle comprising of multiple stages, with one part during which she is impervious to normal attacks. Additionally, at one point, the Shadow Queen possesses Peach, forcing players to attack her, adding an unexpected twist to the encounter. How cheeky indeed.
Haru faithfully obeys my orders.
Kunikaze Okumura, Persona 5 Royal. Among the palaces in Persona 5, Okumura's spaceport is widely considered one of the less impressive ones, with the boss fight being relatively ordinary. However, the Royal Edition of the game has taken this fight to a new level of frustration and difficulty. The time limit imposed on this battle is already quite stringent, and players must defeat all 3 enemies simultaneously that Okumura summons. Failing to do so means that the lineup is restored and players must start over from the beginning, making the challenge even more daunting.
How's this?
Gaza, Legend of Ligaya. Despite his age, Gaza is a formidable opponent. Equipped with powerful armor and an astral sword capable of ending the world. Players need to have invested considerable time grinding and leveling up their party to stand a chance against this masterful foe. Gaza appears twice in Legend of Ligaya's monster-infested Soul Tower, where he spends his golden years battling monsters instead of pursuing hobbies such as knitting blankets or solving complex puzzles. Gaza's second encounter, during which he is empowered by a Saru, is especially challenging. He charges up to attack the party members, unleashing devastating combos that cause massive damage. However, that's only his standard attack. He also has a potent AoE spell called Neo Star Slash that reduces the HP of the entire party to almost nothing. If players run out of healing items and MP at this point, it is game over. Lavas, Chrono Trigger. Several boss battles in video games have multiple phases and parts that players must target and defeat to win. Lavas takes this concept to a whole new level as he can also heal himself during the battle. His attacks are incredibly fierce and some of his bits have extremely high defense. To overcome these obstacles, players must target specific parts to reduce Lava's defenses. If players wish to witness all of the endings of the game, they must defeat Lavas multiple times, which requires an immense level of dedication. Lingering Will, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix. Within the magical realm of Kingdom Hearts, 2 secret bosses have emerged as the franchise's most challenging foes. Lingering Will, followed by the contender for the throne, Mysterious Figure from Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. Although Mysterious Figure offers an intense 10-minute dodge rolling fest, Lingering Will provides a masterfully designed encounter that tests players' expertise in Kingdom Hearts 2 as a whole. Players can choose from a range of strategies such as magical attacks, negative combos, or form swapping, each of which is a viable tactic against this heavily armored opponent. Lingering Will counters with a varied arsenal of attacks, shuffling their ordering between encounters to ensure that no two fights feel identical. Succeeding against Lingering Will requires a combination of pattern recognition and improvisation, making it a highly rewarding but insanely challenging boss fight. Seraphic Radiance Shadow Hearts. Shadow Hearts is a highly underrated JRPG that deserves more recognition. The game offers both a bad and a good ending, with the latter requiring players to confront one of the most challenging bosses in the game without any party members' aid. The fight against Ben Hyuga in Seraphic Radiance is undoubtedly one of the most demanding battles in the game by a significant margin. Players must heal almost every other turn, and a single incorrect decision can lead to a quick defeat. Sephiroth Kingdom Hearts. Sephiroth, the notorious villain from Final Fantasy VII, makes a cameo as an optional boss in Kingdom Hearts. Although he is difficult to defeat in FF7, taking him on in Kingdom Hearts presents an even more infuriating challenge. To hit Sephiroth, players need to have impeccable timing. Without any additional party members, Sora is left to heal himself if he sustains injuries, provided that he can find a spare moment when Sephiroth is not slicing and dicing him. To overcome this formidable foe, players must use every tactic and strategy at their disposal. Luca Blight Suikoden 2. It's noteworthy that Luca Blight can stand alongside optional super bosses as one of the most challenging bosses in the history of JRPGs. Unlike other bosses who have endgame dungeons or transform into evil entities, Luca is just a man with exceptional combat skills, capable of destroying your army in seconds. The bloodbath begins with the player's vast army split into 3 squads, with each squad engaging Luca one at a time to weaken him. Although Luca's soldier allies are not significant threats, the villain himself unleashes multi-hit combos that obliterate even the most resilient allies. As the 9th character falls, players may lose confidence, but if they manage to defeat him, Luca returns for a final showdown against the hero. Failing in this final showdown means restarting the half-hour battle all over again. Miguel Chrono Cross. While Miguel is a mid-game storyline boss and arguably one of the weakest entries on this list, he is by no means an easy opponent. If players are not careful, Miguel will take control of the fight, changing the battlefield to white, which increases his strength, while using a powerful combination of turn black into anti-black to deliberate individual characters. In addition to his magical attacks, Miguel keeps players on their toes as they delve deeper into Chrono Cross. However, Miguel's true strength lies in highlighting one of the most infuriating aspects of boss design. Before players can fight him, they must endure a lengthy exposition sequence that is unskippable. Fortunately, Miguel subverts complete frustration by allowing players to flee the battle and save their progress, ensuring that they do not have to sit through his story again. Redrum Xenogears. Redrum presents 2 significant challenges to the players. Firstly, he is located in Nortun's D-Block sewers, one of the most sadistic dungeons ever conceived, filled with poisonous monsters, twists, and turns that can leave players lost and their health depleted. After players have depleted their healing items and antidotes, they may accidentally stumble upon the Red Room while searching for the exit. Secondly, as soon as the fight starts, Red Room uses an ability called Red Room that confuses and poisons the entire party, compounding the damage they have already sustained. He then follows this up by life-stealing attacks that restore his health faster than players can whittle it down. The only option is to unleash a series of combos for burst damage, but doing so triggers an attack called Murder that not only kills one party member outright, but also heals Red Rum for an amount equivalent to the victim's maximum HP. Emerald Weapon, Final Fantasy VII. Emerald Weapon is not only difficult, but also requires players to fight the colossal green creature underwater with a 20-minute time limit. Obtaining the underwater materia, which enables the party to breathe underwater, is already a daunting task. However, once players confront Emerald, they must prepare for an even greater challenge. With 1 million HP, Emerald can knock out the entire party with many of its attacks. Without a guide, players may have to rely on trial and error to devise an effective strategy for defeating it. Yasmat, Final Fantasy XII International. While Final Fantasy boasts an extensive roster of formidable super bosses, such as Final Fantasy VII's Betentacled Emerald Weapon and Final Fantasy IX's unpredictable Ozma, players can easily overcome these beasts with careful preparation. Final Fantasy XII's Yasmat is no exception, as it has a relatively predictable attack pattern that can be managed with attentiveness. However, there's a twist. What makes Yasmat so challenging and ultimately makes it stand out is the biblical amounts of time required to defeat this beast. Even if players are lucky, it could still take them an hour or two to emerge victorious. However, it's more likely that players will be glued to their seats for 4, 5, or even 6 hours as they chip away at Yasmat's staggering 50 million bajillion hit points. Not to mention the extensive preparation required for the battle. And there you have it, the hardest JRPG bosses that pushed our skills to the absolute limit. These epic encounters had us grinding levels, perfecting our strategies, and chugging energy drinks to keep us going. If you've managed to defeat these bosses, give yourself a pat on the back. You're part of an elite group of gamers who have endured these unforgettable challenges. If you love reminiscing about these tough bosses, make sure you check out our video 10 longest running JRPG series that stood the test of time, to see which games have kept us coming back for more.
Persona! Watch out!
You're mine.